like you mentioned, the way that our society is set up, we've lost that sense of seasonality. I mean, we have faint echoes of it in, like you say, pumpkin spice lattes, things like that. And we have a deeper commemoration of it in the Catholic liturgical calendar. And in fact, in previous times that, seasonal days of penance, ember days that were really tied to the changing of the season. And that is speaking to that incarnational thing. But now we could be in a room and grow everything in there. And if I want strawberries or oranges in December, I can get it shipped in from wherever. And that's not completely bad. I love oranges, and if I can have one in December, I enjoy that. There is something in us that can't quite get away, just even on a physiological level, from needing that seasonality. And even daily, the work, rest, work, rest. It's not just work. So I think that's a really important takeaway, and leads me to another takeaway that I would add to that. Going back to what we were talking about before, about the supplementary nature of technology. And I think recognizing a couple things. One is that it is supplemental, it should be supplemental, but it's very easy for it to become more than that. Occupy too large of a place in my time. And so ordering it in a right way that does respect that, seasonality, or the way that we're meant to interact with the world, that doesn't remove us from reality. And one of the things that came to mind as we were talking about is human nature being the same. Right now, we have technology pulling us away from things, but in a way, it's not a new phenomenon. That it's just that the technology is new, but we've, before it was something else, we would just be too busy. Or, there's a book that I really like called of the Apostolate, and it was written around the early 1900s, kind of the same Rerum Novarum era. They didn't have the same technology, but that same temptation to, I've got to do everything depends on me, I've got to use all of this media, which at the time was newspapers and youth clubs, and put everything into that. And they do work very hard, but they neglect prayer, and they neglect contemplation and actual community. And so this was actually a monk who was put into an active apostolate out of necessity. So he was someone who was inclined to contemplation, but nevertheless, out of his duty and calling, circumstances, had to do active work. And so he's like, how do we incorporate this? And he just emphasizes a lot, all these things are great and we need them and keep doing them, but you can never say, all this depends on me, I've got to neglect my prayer life, I've got to neglect my duties and everything, because then something has gone terribly wrong. And so I think we can kind of take that and adapt that to technology, even the good things that we do with it and are good and that we can continue to do, just continuing to recall this needs to be the supplementary thing, and that this is just a doorway to encountering reality, either in conversations with other people or getting outside, whatever that may be, and taking some concrete step